The tension was palpable as passengers boarded the crowded flight. Elon Musk, dressed in an unassuming hoodie and jeans, quietly took his seat in economy class. Most of the passengers didn't notice him, and that was exactly how he preferred it. Today wasn't about private jets or special treatment. It was about observing the everyday experiences of regular travelers, a habit Elon indulged in occasionally to understand the world outside his bubble of luxury. The plane was running late, and the mood on board was already sour. The flight attendants hurriedly shuffled through the narrow aisle, their expressions stiff and their movements hurried. Elon sat back, observing everything with quiet interest, occasionally glancing out the window. As the flight prepared for takeoff, a flight attendant approached Elon with a curt expression. "Sir, your bag needs to be stowed properly," she said, her tone sharp. Elon nodded and politely complied, tucking the small backpack under the seat in front of him. "Of course. Apologies," he replied, keeping his tone neutral. But instead of moving on, the flight attendant lingered, her irritation growing. "I don't have time for these little stunts. If you wanted to fly like this, you should have booked first class," she snapped. Elon looked up, momentarily taken aback. He raised an eyebrow, considering whether to respond. The cabin around them had grown silent, passengers turning their heads to watch the unexpected confrontation. "I didn't realize it was against the rules to fly economy," Elon replied evenly, his voice calm but firm. The flight attendant scoffed. "Rules aren't the issue, sir. Some people just don't belong here." The words hung in the air like a thundercloud. Elon's eyes narrowed slightly, but he said nothing more. Instead, he leaned back in his seat, his expression unreadable. Around him, whispers began to ripple through the cabin. Some passengers recognized him now, their eyes wide as they murmured his name. For the rest of the flight, the atmosphere remained tense. The flight attendant avoided Elon's row but couldn't escape the growing stares and murmurs from other passengers. As the plane landed and people began to disembark, Elon calmly stood, retrieved his bag, and walked off without a word. But his mind was already at work. This wasn't just about one rude interaction. It was a symptom of a much bigger problem. And Elon Musk didn't ignore problems. What he did next would shock the airline industry and the world. After disembarking, Elon Musk walked briskly through the terminal, his hoodie pulled up, blending in with the crowd. To onlookers, he might have appeared calm, but his mind was buzzing. He replayed the flight attendant's words over and over. It wasn't just the insult. It was what it represented. A broken system, a lack of respect, an outdated industry that treated its passengers like numbers instead of people. By the time he slid into the back seat of his Tesla, waiting at the curb, his decision was made. Pulling out his phone, he made the first of several calls. "Contact my legal team," he said to his assistant on the other end of the line. "I want a full report on that airline. Financials, customer feedback, employee turnover, everything." There was a brief pause. "Elon, are you thinking about—" "Yes," he interrupted. "I'm thinking about buying the airline." The next day, Elon sat in a sleek conference room at Tesla headquarters, surrounded by his most trusted advisors. Piles of data and charts lay spread across the long glass table. His team had worked through the night compiling every detail about the airline. Declining profits, abysmal customer service ratings, and a reputation for treating both employees and passengers poorly. "It's worse than I thought," Elon muttered, scanning the numbers. "This airline is running on fumes." His CFO leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. "They're barely breaking even, and their customer satisfaction scores are some of the lowest in the industry. This is a high-risk investment, Elon. Even for you." Elon smirked. "Risk? That's where the fun begins. Look, the airline industry hasn't seen real innovation in decades. People hate flying because it's a miserable experience. Hidden fees, cramped seats, delays, rude staff. It's a system designed to squeeze every last dollar out of passengers while giving them the bare minimum in return." He stood up, pacing the room with his hands in his pockets. "Imagine an airline where the customer actually comes first. Transparent pricing, comfortable seating, friendly, well-paid staff, renewable energy-powered planes. This isn't just about fixing one flight attendant's attitude. It's about revolutionizing an industry." His chief operating officer hesitated. "But Elon, transforming an airline takes years. The infrastructure, the training, the logistics, it's massive. Elon stopped and turned to face her, a glint of determination in his eyes. Massive is my specialty. Tesla wasn't built overnight. SpaceX wasn't built overnight. But look at them now. This airline can be the Tesla of the skies, a brand people trust and love. And it starts now. The room fell silent as the weight of his vision sank in. Finally, one of his advisors spoke up. All right, Elon, what's the first step? Elon smiled. First, we buy the airline. Then we rebuild it from the ground up. I'll make an announcement by the end of the week. The team got to work immediately, preparing for what would be one of the most audacious acquisitions in recent history. Elon wasn't just buying an airline, he was preparing to rewrite the rules of air travel. And somewhere, a certain flight attendant had no idea her sharp words had just set the stage for a revolution. The news broke like wildfire. Headlines splashed across every major outlet. Elon Musk buys struggling airline, plans to revolutionize air travel. Social media platforms exploded with reactions. Some praised Elon's boldness, calling it the shake-up the airline industry desperately needed. Others were skeptical, questioning if even Musk could tackle the notoriously challenging sector. Inside the airline's corporate headquarters, panic ensued. Executives scrambled to figure out what Musk's acquisition meant for them. Meanwhile, employees, pilots, ground staff, and yes, flight attendants, whispered anxiously in break rooms. Would there be layoffs? Restructuring? No one knew. The flight attendant from Elon's economy class flight, Karen Reeves, sat in her kitchen scrolling through her phone, sipping coffee. When she saw the news, her mug slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Her husband walked in, alarmed. What happened? Karen pointed at the screen, her face pale. There it was, a photo of Musk walking into the airline's headquarters, his signature smirk in place. Beneath the image, the headline read, Elon Musk promises radical overhaul. The customer comes first. Oh no, Karen whispered. He's my new boss. Back in Silicon Valley, Elon was already rolling out his vision. At a press conference held on Tesla's sprawling campus, he stood at the podium, looking as confident as ever. Air travel is one of the most hated experiences in modern life, he began. It's outdated, inefficient, and fundamentally disrespectful to passengers. That changes now. The audience hung on his every word. Our first step is rebranding. This isn't just a new airline, it's a new philosophy. Affordable, eco-friendly, and customer-focused. We're introducing electric planes powered by sustainable energy. We're redesigning seats to actually be comfortable, eliminating hidden fees, and training staff to prioritize kindness and empathy. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Musk, what about the existing employees? Will there be layoffs? Elon leaned forward, his expression serious. No one will lose their job unless they refuse to embrace the new culture. This is a team effort, and we're all in this together. But make no mistake, there will be accountability. Behind the scenes, Karen couldn't shake her nerves. She knew she'd been rude to Elon, and now her future at the airline felt uncertain. She kept replaying their brief interaction, wondering if he even remembered her. The following week, Elon announced a mandatory staff meeting at the airline's headquarters. Karen debated calling in sick, but ultimately decided against it. Avoiding him wouldn't solve anything. As she entered the large conference room, she felt a lump in her throat. Elon was already there, casually leaning against a table, talking with a group of employees. His energy was magnetic, his ideas captivating. When the meeting began, Elon didn't waste time. I know change is uncomfortable, he said, pacing the room, but we're not here to stick to the status quo. We're here to build something extraordinary. I want each of you to think about why you joined this industry. Was it just for a paycheck, or was it something more? Karen shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Then Elon's eyes scanned the room and landed on her. You, he said, pointing. What's your name? Her heart sank. Karen Reeves, she managed to say. He nodded, recognition flickering in his eyes. Karen, why did you choose to become a flight attendant? The room went silent, every eye on her. Karen swallowed hard. This was her moment, but she had no idea what Elon would say next. Karen felt her palms sweating as all eyes in the room stayed fixed on her. She cleared her throat, trying to summon the confidence she didn't feel. I, I became a flight attendant because I have always loved traveling, meeting new people, seeing the world. It felt like a dream job, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Elon nodded, his expression unreadable. And do you still feel that way? Karen hesitated. She wanted to say yes, but the reality was more complicated. Over the years, the long hours, irritable passengers, and unappreciative management had drained her enthusiasm. She glanced around the room and saw her colleagues waiting for her answer. Finally, she said, "Not always. It's hard to love something when you feel unappreciated or overwhelmed. Sometimes it feels like we're just going through the motions." Elon's gaze softened, and for a moment Karen thought she saw a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. "That's honest," he said, "and that's exactly why we're here. We can't build something magical if the people at the heart of it feel undervalued." The room seemed to collectively exhale. Karen felt some of the tension in her shoulders ease, but her relief was short-lived when Elon continued. "But here's the thing," he said, pacing the room. "Respect is a two-way street. If we want passengers to treat staff better, it starts with us. It starts with showing empathy, even in the most frustrating moments. That's the culture we're building, and everyone here has to decide if they're in or out." Karen's heart sank. Was this directed at her? Did he remember their encounter on the flight? Elon paused, then turned back to her. "Karen, let me ask you something else. Do you believe people can change?" She blinked, caught off guard by the question. After a moment, she said, "Yes, I do." "Good," Elon replied, his voice firm but not unkind. "Because change isn't just about new planes or better seats. It's about us. Every single one of us has to step up. You included." The message hung in the air. Karen wasn't sure if it was a warning, a challenge, or something else entirely. But she knew one thing. She wasn't going to back down. If Elon Musk was going to change the airline, she wanted to be part of it. Over the next few weeks, the transformation began. Training sessions were held to teach staff about empathy and customer service. Engineers worked tirelessly on designs for the new electric planes. Elon himself was everywhere, on the tarmac, in meetings, even talking to passengers at the gate. His energy was infectious, and slowly, the airline's culture started to shift. Karen threw herself into the new system, determined to prove she could rise to the challenge. One day, as she was boarding a flight, she found a handwritten note waiting for her in the galley. It read, "Karen, your story reminded me why this mission matters. Keep going. Elon." Her hands trembled as she read it. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not just as an employee, but as a person. What happened next would cement Elon Musk's airline as a global phenomenon and leave Karen and the world speechless. The transformation of the airline wasn't just a story, it became a movement. Elon Musk's innovative changes made headlines worldwide. Electric planes with zero emissions began rolling out, their sleek designs a testament to his vision. The once dreaded economy class was replaced with spacious, comfortable seating, and passengers marveled at the transparent pricing and personalized service. But the real magic wasn't just in the planes or policies, it was in the people. Karen, once a skeptical and burnt-out flight attendant, found herself becoming a champion of the new culture. She led her colleagues with a newfound confidence, embodying the empathy and kindness Elon had emphasized. Passengers started to notice the difference, posting glowing reviews and praising the airline's staff for going above and beyond. One day, Karen was called to the airline's headquarters for a special event. As she walked into the grand hall, she was met with thunderous applause. Employees from all levels of the company had gathered, and Elon himself stood on the stage, waiting with a knowing smile. Karen felt her heart race as she approached. She had no idea why she'd been singled out. Elon took the microphone. "Today, we celebrate not just the rebirth of this airline, but the people who made it possible. Karen Reeves represents what this transformation is all about. She's shown us that change isn't easy, but it's worth it. Her story reminds us that every person, passenger or staff, deserves to be treated with respect and humanity." Karen's eyes filled with tears as Elon handed her a plaque inscribed with the words, "In recognition of leadership, resilience, and the courage to embrace change." The room erupted into cheers, and Karen felt a wave of pride and gratitude she hadn't experienced in years. But Elon wasn't done. He leaned into the microphone and added with a smirk, "Oh, and Karen, you're getting a promotion. Effective immediately, you'll be leading our global training initiative to ensure every staff member understands what you've shown us, how to treat people with dignity." Karen's jaw dropped as the room exploded in applause again. She couldn't believe it. From a chance encounter with Elon Musk to becoming a key player in the company's transformation, her life had changed in ways she never imagined. The airline's success continued to soar, becoming a global model for innovation and customer care. Passengers flocked to fly with a company that didn't just promise better service, but delivered it. And Karen? She became a symbol of what was possible when people believed in change, not just for themselves, but for others. Every time she saw Elon, he would give her a knowing smile, as if to say, "I told you this was just the beginning." And in many ways it was.